Effort. It's been the Phoenix Suns' Achilles heel all season, a lingering disease that they refuse to cure. And on Sunday afternoon in Los Angeles, it finally hit its breaking point, I think, again, crashing down with the force of Jimmy Page's solo to Stairway to Heaven. It felt like a crescendo was arising to reach this moment where once again on a national stage, the Phoenix Suns' effort, or lack thereof, was on a full display. You could see it in their body language and the way they jogged through possessions and the way they sleepwalked to their 37 first half points. A lifeless, uninspired display of basketball, Matthew. This is what I get, isn't it? After talking about the Suns and how we don't need to worry about their offense on the last podcast, how we need to focus on their defense. We don't need to sit and overanalyze the X's and O's like frantic chemists searching for the perfect formula. The real issue, I said, was the defense always.
Yeah. Before that, I like your intros because they remind me of like the Twilight Zone.
That's my
like,
goal.
The way they sound is like in the Twilight Zone, like at the end. Just because obviously what you're referencing with the Suns too.
I wish I had a cigarette like Rod Sterling used to have and be like, ladies and gentlemen, here we are again. The Twilight Zone, the Suns, the Phoenix Suns, fuck me zone.
That's how it sounds. You could smoke the cigarette. I'm sure Shannon would be very happy.
No one would be. I need to get one of those candy cigarettes so it looks like it. You know what I was thinking of doing? Is a whole episode, because I had one of my buddies text me after listening to our last episode, and he goes, dude, it's hilarious on the episodes where you're driving home and you're talking about the Suns, but you're also getting mad at other drivers and like parking meters and stuff.
Yeah, I know, as you go through it. The whole experience, very 3D environment you put us into while we're listening to that.
I need to do a whole episode of me just driving around and just commenting on what I'm seeing and the dipshit drivers that are here in Phoenix, because I think everyone's an idiot when they drive, probably myself included. But like,
you're like The Rock on what was that one show he was on HBO? The one about
Ballers.
Ballers. When he was on Ballers and like the last season, he was only in the car because obviously he was never on set. Like that's you now. You just on the radio, you're in the car. On the pod, you're in the car because you just don't have time now to sit down and do the pod like The Rock.
Just complaining about people going slow in the fast lane and not using their turn signals and not merging correctly onto the freeway. Yeah, we can make a whole episode of me just doing that. But I mean, this was nothing that I feel was overly unexpected. This 107-96 loss to the Lakers. I mean, at least for me, again, I have zero faith in this team to bring it, because there's issues that we see night in and night out. And even when things kind of align and they play well, we know who and what this team is. We know their identity and we know the issues that they've faced all season long. So I don't see any coming back from it, because they're that team, not good.
Yeah, I thought without Luka, maybe the Suns had a chance, but then you forget. And I think a lot of people do now that Austin Reeves is still on that team after the trade was even when it was finished. The Mavericks did not get Austin Reeves for some reason, which is insane. So they still have that guy who can be a better player than Booker and KD. So that's a disappointing part of this whole game, I feel like.
Yeah. Well, we'll talk about that and much more on this edition of the Suns Jam Session podcast. So thanks for hanging out with us, whether you're watching along live or later, or you're listening another time. Truly appreciate it. Thank you to those who went onto Apple Podcasts and gave us a 5-star review and did what I said. Just write yay. We had 2 people who just said yay. I don't think you were here for the podcast when I read those, but shout out to those 2. The review just said yay. How about for this one? If you have in your heart, Jamsters, to go to Apple Podcasts, rate us 5 stars, and then just say, I don't know, what should they say, Matthew? Use your blinker. There you go.
Poop knuckles.
Poop knuckle. I think that's what I opened up before we started. We started
a song about poop knuckles.
I just started singing a song about poop knuckles that I made up. And yeah, so crack them if you got them, Suns fans. I'm not drinking anything. I'm just gonna have some water because it's Sunday afternoon and it's already ruined because of the Suns. So let's talk about it.
Hey, you're listening to the Suns Jam Session podcast, shooting the shit about the Suns since 2019.
That's right, Suns fans. It is yet another loss for the Phoenix Suns. They are now 31-37 on the year. And Dallas lost earlier today to the Philadelphia 76ers, who are going through their own plight. I mean, those are probably the three most disappointing teams this season are the Dallas Mavericks, the Phoenix Suns, and the Philadelphia 76ers. But Dallas lost today, and still the Suns, with their loss, are now a game and a half out of that play-in tournament. And with this loss on this Sunday afternoon, it brings me my first question.
Matthew, I've got to ask.
Matthew, I got to ask, what do you have more faith in right now? The second coming of Jesus Christ or the Suns' ability to turn yet another fine Sunday afternoon into dog shit?
Well, is it 2032 or 33 when I think something's coming, either the mothership or Jesus Christ? So I think that's going to happen before I enjoy the Suns basketball on Sunday, because I don't mind Sunday noon basketball. It should be great. It should be a Lakers Suns matchup where I'm looking forward to it at the edge of my seat because there's some stars on the court. But nowadays, dude, it is like behind me, I can hear my girlfriend picking up poop in the back. It's basically like that all day long. It's a waste of time. It's just sitting there, and seriously, I would rather be picking up dog poop than watching the Suns team. That's how I feel.
And it's right off the bat. I mean, the Suns scored 15 points in the first quarter, permitting the Lakers to score 31. And they were down by as much as 20 in the first quarter. So it's not even like you get settled in and you're like, okay, this is disappointing, yada, yada, yada. No, it's right off the bat. The Suns are 1 of 11 from beyond the arc, which is 9.1% in the first quarter. They go 6 of 22. They allow the Lakers to go 10 of 20 from the field and 5 of 10 from beyond the arc. And it's just instant discombobulation. And I thought that this would actually be a game where we'd see the better lineup, the BBDDR lineup, the Booker, Beal, Dunn, Durant, Richards lineup. And that was the starting lineup. And I was like, hey, this is something that I've been kind of pining for. I think that Gerald Bourguet of PHNX tweeted out before the game that those 5 players have only played 4 minutes together. And I really feel like it's a complementary lineup. It gives you some offense. It gives you some defense. It gives you some rebounding. You know, again, Booker, Beal, Dunn, Durant, Richards, and they instantly are just smacked in the face, can't play defense, can't play offense, and it was just a horrible way to start a Sunday afternoon.
Yeah, and Luka, what did he score? I think he scored 13 points before the Suns did. I think he outscored him 13-11 in the first quarter.
Correct.
So it's a good lineup. And, you know, my main focus on this game and a lot of these games previously is our bench, the supportive role, they've been really good. And I think they've been doing absolutely enough to help guys like Devin Booker and Kevin Durant to win games like this. If those guys can kind of step up. But they always get themselves in such a big hole where they have guys, like you said, in Richards and Dunn, and even Bradley Beal, who fights underneath the rim at time, hopefully not to get injured. But there's guys that are scrappy on the floor that do enough to where these guys should be able just to kind of outscore the other team, even if you are playing against Luka and Austin Reeves. But Luka in that team, they're 0-4 without LeBron.
Mm-hmm.
It's been a mess there in LA since he's been gone too. But of course, it's kind of a get right game for Luka, where it hasn't been the best for him since he's been there. But I do think that the Suns have to come out of these games and use that to their advantage when you have a little bit of steam coming off the last 3 or 4 games. You know, 1, 2 of the last 4. So it's a great look right now for the franchise for this season. After all the shit we've been through, it's kind of like on the up and up a little bit, and then they just come out and lay an egg in the first, and it's like, wow, okay, yeah, here we are already. The game's over.
The only steam coming off was the steam of the shit that they were playing with
yes
tonight, because again, it was just an unbelievably horrible performance. And it's at that point where, again, with this being a nationally televised game against the Lakers, one of your most hated rivals, a lot of people look at this. And for a lot of people, this is their first time really experiencing the Suns. Whether it's, you know, the Lakers subreddit where they haven't seen the Suns since what, November's last time we played them, or the ESPN crew, they don't see them a ton, but obviously you come into this and you think you're going to get a lot of more fight out of Phoenix. Is a team that's fighting to make the play-in, and if you get into the play-in, you never know what could happen, but you could potentially make the postseason. The 8th seed is out there for you. There's a chance. Because in a normal season, I wouldn't say, okay, not normal, but in a season not too long ago, 5 years ago, the Suns are 11 seed. This season's done. There's 1 through 8, and that's it. But they've, Adam Silver loves his little tournaments, and they've instituted the play-in tournament for the past, I think, 4 seasons now. And the Suns, this is the first time they're kind of flirting with it. And they're not flirting with it on the front end. They're flirting with it on the back end. And you'd think that this team would have a sense of urgency. And I don't know if it's not a sense of urgency, but it's a complete and utter lack of execution. That's for sure on both sides of the floor. And again, the blame game. Everybody kind of talks it. Well, you got to blame Bud. You got to blame the players. You got to blame the front office. You got to blame me for spending my Sundays doing this. What do you think? Is there somebody you blame for this game, or is this just kind of par for the course? This is the Suns, Jamsters. This is what we get. To expect anything other than this kind of effort, execution, and performance is asinine on our behalf.
Yeah. I think I'm going to stick with my same thing all year, where I'm really going for it. I don't like to blame, but the two guys I expect a lot more out of to win these games is just Durant, Booker. I don't know if I blame them anymore because I have accepted the fact that they are, it just came right into the living room. Get ran over.
Just keep screaming,
close,
man.
dude.
Matthew just got hit by a car.
I'm all like this with the car on top of me. I had to point the blame at just those guys because they don't come out. And I was thinking too in the second half, I'm like, what if they actually turn this around and Booker just has a fuck you game and he just wins the game for the Suns? But no, it doesn't happen. No. I have little belief in that. So I point the blame at those guys if we have to. Obviously, like even so says Jay, says that this team has hated Bud for months. It's been over for months. And I've been there too. It's been over for months. But in my case, it's just because I accept that Kevin Durant and Booker are just not good enough to be those guys that beat Luka and Austin Reeves in a matchup on Sunday at noon. So I seriously think that those guys have to take the blame when it comes to the press conferences and stuff like that. But moving on, Stephen A mentioned on ESPN, I think this is the first time I think I've ever agreed with anything he said, but this team has to be investigated. What the hell happened, obviously. But he did mention this team is painful to watch because they look like the kids that are forced to go clean their room and actually do it. And that's how I felt all year. It's like, oh, wait, do they want to play basketball? And when they win and have effort, I'm like, oh, I hope they're not too tired. I hope it didn't spend them too much. I hope they're okay. That's how I always felt every time they would go out there and put out effort. So it is like that. I don't expect them to do it. When they do it, I get a little frightened. I'm like, oh, are you sure you guys want to play this hard? It's exactly a good, usually Stephen A is just pretty bad, but that was pretty spot on for him for sure.
Yeah, it was a great analogy he had at halftime, and I was going to snip it and play it, but I didn't. I didn't want to put in the effort. Haha, take that, Suns. I'm just like you. But yeah, that's pretty much what he said at halftime about this team is they felt like a child that's in trouble, and there's a vibe, and we've talked about the vibe. We've talked about this team and how they mesh together on the court, off the court, things of that nature. And whether you are plugged into this team and you're a member of it listening to this podcast after the game, Mr. Durant, or if you are a fan on the outside, the results speak for themselves. Period. I mean, we can sit here and talk about how potentially this team could be connected and everything's okay in the locker room and, it's just not working out and people are trying hard, and I get it. But results matter. And the results that we're seeing consistently from this basketball team are not optimal. This is a bad basketball team that does not appear from the outside looking in. Again, I can't talk about from the inside looking out, but from the outside looking in, this team appears to just, they're done. They don't care. They don't dude, get me to Cancun, Oh man, I can't wait to have a pina colada somewhere. I can't wait to not show up to work and see these guys. That's what it looks like out there with the lackadaisical effort, with the just the continual, like I've run out of adjectives this season to describe this team and to write about this team on Brightside. It's just like they're disconnected. They don't seem to care. This should have been a game with a sense of urgency where you go out there and in the first 5 minutes you're getting punked by Luka. Everybody comes in and goes, fuck that, dude. We're better than this team. We have more talent than this team. We need to go prove it. But there is just no fire. And if there is fire, there's no execution based off that fire. And that's just, they're literally walking in mud. They're walking in quicksand and they're sinking fast. And I think that the mood of the fan base is just fucking kill me already. I don't want the plan. Some people ask me like, well, do you think they're going to make the plan? I'm like, no, I don't. I hope they don't.
Mm-hmm.
I hope I don't get 83 games out of this team. I just want 82. And even that's 12 too many. I'm all about the 70 game season now because that would mean that we only have 2 more games of this shit.
Yeah, even last year, like when we got swept, you're like, ooh, I'm just glad that's over with. Like I was rooting for like, hey, let's just get 1 game out of it. Like, no, I want to be done. And I think, looking forward to these games. Actually, I don't look forward to them, but just thinking about them, it's painful because honestly, like I would rather be doing other shit. And I hate saying this stuff because it's just like, well, then why are you even doing it? Who cares? Like, don't even watch them or don't do a pod. But obviously, I want to do this. But the fact is, like, it just really ruins my Sunday. And the reason is the effort. And that is why, like, there is booing. And that's why this team's held accountable by the fans and stuff, because it is the effort. I have never seen, every time we play on primetime, ESPN, TNT, halftime's always the same thing from everybody. Where's the effort? And like you said, these guys don't watch this team ever. Like if the Shaq, the Charles Barkley, the Stephen A. Smiths, they don't watch this team. But when they actually are presented on ESPN and TNT, they're like, oh my God, like this is miserable. So it's every fucking game. And they can't even get up for a Sunday game against the Lakers. Like the effort is obviously missing. And that's the biggest disappointment. And I don't know how this team turns it around ever going forward with these 2 guys in Booker, Kevin Durant. Obviously to me, like, I think you want to continue to build around them, but it's just, there's something with Durant and Booker, obviously, that might still just continue next season if we continue to try to build around them. It's just, because this has been a thing with Booker on this team too, right? We've gotten blown out in game 7s with him, with Chris Paul. Like there's always just that effort thing. Like what the fuck is going on? Like he's been here since the beginning when we failed and failed and failed and failed. So it's just those 2 guys just have to make sure like, hey, there's no more blame on anybody else to coach. Are they the players or the fans? It's just those 2 guys. And I'm getting sick of just having to waste my Sundays on this shit. Sorry.
And I'll say this. I'm with you there. And some people, you bring up a good point. Well, then why do we do this? In all honesty, the reason that I do this is because this is my therapy session, because watching that team ruins my Sunday. And then I come on here, we talk about it. You and I go back and forth. We interact with the people who are watching along live, read the comments, and we kind of vet that information and those emotions. We put it out there, wrap it up, and then I'm done. Then I go this is my way of dealing with it. Whereas, that's funny. I might have to do a Costco run later. So then I walk around Costco wearing my shit. People are like, Suns. No, nobody says anything about the Suns.
I know no one says anything.
No, if you're wearing a Suns hat, people just look away like, oh shit, that guy's angry.
Don't make eye contact. Yeah.
Don't make eye contact with that guy. That guy's clearly angry. But that's one of the reasons that I do. It's like I do love this team. It's just this season has been such it's unbelievable. It's absolutely unbelievable. And like Irish Roar, who's watching on Twitter, thank you for doing so, says, I've been watching the Suns since 1979. This might be the most disliked team. I actually starting to dislike everyone on it. Dunn, Gillespie, and Oso accepted. So, I mean, that's the exception, I believe. But, I mean, I think that's where just a lot of us are at this point. And that's why we all come together here. That's why you're watching or listening at another time is, you want to make sure that you're not insane, that other people feel what you feel, right? Like that's what happens when you go through a breakup or you're going through, maybe a spout of depression. One of the best things to do is to talk to somebody about it, because you find that you're not the only person to feel those feelings. And there's 2 things that happen. 1, it makes you feel not as crazy for feeling those feelings. And 2, talking about things out loud, putting it into the universe, allows you to vet through those emotions and move past them, I feel. And that's part of what the Suns Jam Session, Therapy Session podcasts have become, right?
Yeah, and I think it's more for everyone else but me, because I think I would be like a lot of my friends who are Suns fans, and they are just done watching 2 months
Oh
ago.
yeah.
Because I would have been one of those guys if it's not for Brightside in the Pod, which I do like doing and love doing, but I just think that I would just be checked out until next season. I would be waiting for the offseason. I might be watching other teams. Like, I usually do that. I
Mhm.
watch a lot of other teams, and then when the Suns come to play, it's like everyone's upstairs playing video games. No one wants to sit and watch the Suns play.
I have buddies who text me and they're just like, "You're still watching the Suns?" I go, "Yeah, man. Like, yeah, I am." They're like, "Oh, I feel sorry for
Yeah.
you." I'm like, "Yes, feel sorry for me." With all this negativity,
Tell me something good. Tell me something good.
Matthew, tell me something good.
The good part is we've been getting a lot of Ryan Dunn, and the team has played better. I think that's good. I like the Ryan Dunn on Luka. I think the doubles on Luka too. Like you never see the doubles this season when a guy's going off, but they were doubling him. That's one of the good things. We also see Cody Martin, which is like, oh, maybe he's a missing piece. I'm just joking. That's not a
No,
thing,
God,
obviously.
please don't
But
do that.
yeah, but we saw him. But those are just the two things that really stick out to me. Just like the noticeability of Ryan Dunn at times defensively and stuff, even though they leave him wide open. He's 2 for 8 again tonight. What was he, 2 for 9 last game from
Mhm.
3? So he's left from wide open, or he's left for 3 for wide open. And it's just like, damn, dude, like everyone's in the paint just watching him shoot those threes. So it's kind of horrid, but I love seeing him out there.
That's good. The good.
That was hard to even say, dude.
I'll tell you something
There's
good.
nothing I liked about this.
I'll tell you something good. This game ended at like 3:15, so it's not like an 8:15, 9:15, 10:15 at night game. You know, like tomorrow when we play
Yeah,
Toronto
yeah.
at home. So this one ended early, so that's the something good that I've found.
That
from this.
is the one good.
When was it over?
When was this one over, Matthew?
For me, it was the first quarter, and I think it's because looking at what Luka did, I'm like, damn, that's nice. And you have a guy in Austin Reeves that can he's the perfect dude when your team's up by 10 or 15. He can just keep that lead. He always hits the big shots. Every time you think you're coming back, you're down by 7. He had that big and 1 3-point made against Oso, which they thought maybe he was in the restricted area and maybe it was a flagrant, but it wasn't. But he's that guy that kind of does that. So I'm like, damn it. Austin Reeves is like the Ginobili where it's just like you thinking you maybe get back in the game, but he's going to push you away even when Luka's out. So as soon as Luka got up on us, I knew it was over in the first.
I did too. Luka, obviously, this is his 14th game since coming over in a conspiracy theory trade from the Dallas Mavericks to the Los Angeles Lakers to once again make the Lakers relevant enough to vindicate and justify the amount of media coverage that they get. And there's one thing that Luka loves, and that is playing against the Suns. And the moment that I saw him start to cook in the first quarter, I knew it was over right there. And obviously, once they were up 20, even though the Suns got it back to within like 8 or 7 a couple times, it was one of those situations where you knew it's like Luka has owned the Suns, not necessarily in wins and losses, but in attitude and effort throughout his career. And this was just another example of that occurring. It's the first time that it's happened in a Lakers jersey, and a lot of Lakers fans were baptized to what it feels like to have Luka Doncic on your team when you play the Suns. And it's something, I mean, what's the stat that he averages the second most points ever against the Phoenix Suns with like almost 30 points a game. The only guy to average more points per game against the Phoenix Suns in the history of the NBA is
Ooh, dang, stat me.
Michael Jordan. So, I mean, kind of a good list to be on there, eh, Matthew?
You think he actually holds us like, in the back of his mind where he's like, fuck those guys? You think he really cares that much?
100%. So that's what Richard Jefferson was
Yeah,
saying.
I didn't believe that though, because I never heard that till Richard Jefferson said that. I'm like, I don't think he cared when he got drafted. I don't think he even wanted to come to the NBA.
Yeah,
But
I don't know if he cared, but I know he gets up for it because Devin Booker has talked shit.
That's the reason.
Devin Booker's poked the dragon a few too many times.
Yes.
And
the Dragon Bender.
The Dragon Bender, the next Dirk Nowitzki. Shout out to Michael Evans, $5 in the super chat. Thank you, sir. He says
Thankfully.
problem is the Suns have no idea how to fix this team. Yeah, yeah. It's not just short term issues that the Suns have right now. It's long term issues too. That's what makes this whole iteration of Suns like we were just in the finals. Like what 4 years ago now?
Yeah.
Yeah, 4 years goes by quick. But 4 years ago, we're in the finals, and now we're just backed into a corner with no outs, and all the outs involve shitty outs. But you were talking about Devin Booker a little bit earlier, and who he is and who he can be. This is a hard game to try to justify any good about Devin Booker now and Devin Booker in the future.
Allow me to reintroduce myself. My name is Big Dick Booker.
Yeah, this is one of those games that Booker is just going to wish never happened and is going to fuel the fire of the anti-Booker crowd. And in 40 minutes played, he was 6 of 17 from the field for 19 points. He had 11 assists, 3 turnovers, 0 of 3 from beyond the arc. And it was not a good basketball game in any capacity for Devin Booker. I can't defend Devin Booker in this one. I feel like I do defend him from time to time because I do think that he is somebody who is going to be part of our future. And I like that. I'm a Booker fan. I'm a Suns fan. Therefore, I'm a Booker fan. I know a lot of people might not agree with that, but I know that I do. Can't defend this one. This was an absolute shit game for him. And the rest of the team kind of followed suit.
Yeah, and I think there's a lot of comments, obviously, in the chat about the way he played, and it seemed like he didn't give a fuck. It did seem like that. He has been the guy in the last 3 or 4 games where it seemed like he's been putting forth the effort, and they've been leaning more heavily on him than Kevin Durant. But now it was just today was kind of it was one where he just knew maybe he was off, and maybe he just couldn't get it going. But if you look at that roster over there in LA, that's in between Luka Doncic and Austin Reeves. The roster, like the supporting cast, isn't any better than what the Suns have, and that's where it gets me to where I always like, okay, Devin Booker and Kevin Durant obviously aren't better than those other 2 guys, but I'm like, maybe the coaching too. Who knows, right? Because I think obviously over there, JJ Redick's been even before Luka. That team was like the 4th seed, right? The 5th seed, so they were still up there in the standings. And they still had their coach who could relate to the players, obviously, but that team gave a fuck. And like, I hate the fact that it's like you kind of swap these teams and put them like, if you put the Lakers in the Suns uniform, I just feel like it'd be the same exact thing around Devin Booker and Kevin Durant. But like I said earlier, man, it's just a constant thing where it's very difficult to watch this game, watch the Suns team, and have to support Devin Booker and say he is our superstar, like Matt Ishbia said in his latest comments about wanting to continue to build around him because of games like this where he can't get up and he can't out-duel Luka Doncic or their other player over there. It's just like you can't count on it anymore. Like it's seriously like I come into the season, I just am like, maybe we'll get some good leadership from him, but I still don't think he's that guy that can outshine those other players. So I didn't expect any different tonight. And this is probably his worst game of the season, just because it is the Lakers and on Sunday and it's a must win.
Yeah, he didn't outduel Luka Doncic. He didn't outduel Austin Reeves, man. I mean, Austin Reeves cooked Devin Booker tonight continually and hit him with a lot of the same stuff that Booker can do. But Booker was missing the bunnies. His defense was very, very substandard. And yeah, this is one of those situations where this is the time of year where eyeballs are starting to finally make their way over to the NBA. And a Sunday afternoon game is a prime time for people to take a look at your team. And the fact that Devin Booker couldn't get up for it or didn't have the ability to execute in this one. I wouldn't necessarily say he didn't get up for it, but I do feel like none of his shots were falling. So the execution side of this was absolutely abhorrent. And, it's just one of those situations where you question the future of this team to be built around Devin Booker. Now, obviously, this is a knee-jerk reaction after a poor Devin Booker game and what he's done for this franchise. There's a bunch of different factors to take into account here. But you see that and you just go, man, we got a long way to go because I don't know if he can consistently do it. He's done it, but can he do it consistently? That's the question. Javier in the chat says, John, I know you're scared to rebuild, but maybe it's time. Booker has been here a while, but look what Doncic has been able to do in less time than Booker. Maybe a full rebuild will fix it. Luka Doncic is an all NBA player. Okay. I'm so against blowing it up. I'm so against that. And I know I talked about it a little bit on the last podcast, and it's something we'll definitely continue to talk about. But like, so what Javier is saying is maybe it's time to blow it up. And like look at what Doncic did. Maybe a rebuild will fix it. What a rebuild does is it takes half a decade or more to get to the point that we're at right now. To have talent on the team. The talent's playing poorly, yes. The execution is horrible, yes. The effort's horrible, yes. The talent is there. The team aspect of the team isn't working. That's the challenge. To create a team, that is what the challenge is. But you need talent. And if you're blowing it up, you're going to get some, mid-level talent, quote unquote, back for your assets. If you were to get rid of Booker, if you were to get rid of Durant, if you could somehow get off Beal, you'll get a ton of draft picks and you'll get some mid-level talent. Like, you would have it to where an Austin Reeves would be the best player on your team. And that's your ceiling. The ceiling for this team was like 50 wins. We're at the floor right now. If we're in blow it up mode, where we're at right now is almost the ceiling. The ceiling is like the back end of the playoffs. It's just outside of the lottery for the next 4 or 5 years. Because again, you go around the NBA and you look at what teams that have blown it up are doing. Washington, how are they doing? Utah, how are they doing? Charlotte, they had the number 2 overall pick and got LaMelo Ball. They had a great talent. How are they doing? Cleveland and OKC are the best teams in the league, but they took long time. Paul George and Russell Westbrook, that was 8 years ago. LeBron James and Kyrie Irving, that was 7 years ago. And they're just now hitting their stride. We have the talent now. The whole goal of blowing it up is to get somebody talented like Devin Booker. And yes, he had a bad game. This is a bad season for Devin Booker. I think in his 10 years, this is his third worst scoring average season. And it's still like 26 a game. But I think that has more to do with the team than the player itself. What do you think, Matthew?
Well, I mean, with Matt Ishbia, we're not doing that. So
Exactly.
I think it's tough because, it does take a while to rebuild. But the fact is, like we brought up beginning of the pod, with the Mavericks and the 76ers as the other two franchises that are very poor this season and just kind of enriching their fans with good play. But those teams too, due to trades and injuries, that's why they've sucked so bad. And they have a guy in Embiid that can't stay on the floor.
Mm-hmm.
We still have these guys out there and they can't win games. So that's why it's hard. And I think, going back to the beginning of the career with Booker, he was always the, good stats, bad team guy. And he could never be a guy that could just be like, oh, I got to go watch Booker. Like he might bring his team to a victory, but there was always like the 13 win, 15 win seasons, 19, 21 seasons. And then you get a guy like Chris Paul and it all comes together, right? Because then you have DA who finally plays hard because of Chris Paul. And then you have a good team around him that plays physical, good defense. Mikal Bridges, Cameron Johnson, some of his favorite players to play
Jay
with.
Crowder.
Yeah, so, over the years, it just seems like Booker's always been on the back burner when it comes to what fans want and what the NBA wants out of a star and what they can support as a guy that can carry a team like an SGA or a Donovan Mitchell or those guys. Obviously the Cavs are a well-built team right now, but it's just like that's what situation Booker needs to be in, is something that has, you get rid of Kevin Durant somehow, you get rid of Bradley Beal somehow, then you can build around him. It doesn't mean that he has to be the best player, but he needs those other guys around him to make him the best player that he can be, because he can't be the number 1 or the number 2 to me. He has to be like the third best player on a team. And I don't know how you get that. I don't know how you get those other 2 dudes, but I don't see it happening in the future. So that's the risk you're going to take, is to keep building around him and waste more time, or you get the most out of him right now in a trade. So for me, I don't want that to happen, but if it were to happen, I'd be like, I saw that coming. And then the only way it's going to happen is if Booker wants out, and it's not going to be a thing that the ownership wants to do. It'd be Booker wanting out too.
But in those two scenarios, one is blow it up, and the other one is, like you said, keep Devin Booker and wasting time, right? At least with Devin Booker and wasting time, you're accomplishing some other things that I feel are important. One, you have a guy who's been an all-NBA player who's in his prime. And so while you might be quote unquote wasting time, you still have the level of talent that it could, if you put the right pieces around it, like Cleveland. Cleveland's a great example because Donovan Mitchell hasn't always been he's been a great player, but he hasn't had a great team around him. And now that they've really put a good team around him that's complementary, and let me even back up there. He's had really good teams around him. He was on Utah Jazz teams that were the first and second seed, but they just weren't they weren't properly constructed to win a championship. Whereas now in Cleveland, they're at that place and everyone's accepted their role and everything's kind of fallen into place. And so I would much rather have Devin Booker here and continue to try to build around him while we're quote unquote wasting time, and maybe something hits and all of a sudden everything clicks and the team comes together in the right place. All those ancillary moves that need to occur, that's the question mark. That is not only what needs to happen, but who needs to arrive for it to happen. I'd much rather go that route than get rid of KD, get rid of Booker, get a bunch of assets, and then we're still wasting time, but we don't have the talent anymore. And we don't have the possibility of a higher ceiling. Our ceiling is much lower, and our floor remains the same. Because again, we're at the floor of this talent. And there's no world where we run this back with all three. It's not going to happen. It shouldn't happen. It would be irresponsible for it to happen, in my opinion. This big three, quote unquote, of Devin Booker, Kevin Durant, and Bradley Beal has shown it does not work. In 2 seasons now, and we thought last season was bad. In 2 seasons now, it has shown that's not work. So you have to make changes. That's unbelievably apparent. What changes need to be made? Again, those are conversations we'll continue to have until it's time to make those changes. I know where I kind of stand right now. I can see other points of view, but in no world am I in the blow it up world. And I get that so many people are frustrated right now. They think that the answer is if we just get a ton of draft picks and restore our draft capital, and we get some mid-level players, we get like an Austin Reeves and a Jonathan Kuminga, like that's going to fix this. It's like, no, we can't build something successful off ancillary players and gamble on the draft. We did that for a decade last decade, and it didn't work. One guy hit, and we were,
Josh Jackson.
Yeah, Josh Jackson, Dragon Bender, Alex Len, Marquise Chris, TJ Warren. It's year after year after year. And I get that we had hope during those horrible seasons. That's what kept us alive and thriving as Suns fans is, oh man, we got the number 4 pick. What are we going to do? Like, oh, Alonzo Ball, man, he's going to be a Laker. Oh, it's like we had that hope, but we still, after all that, we drafted DeAndre number 1 overall. How many games did we win the next season? 18?
Yeah. I think Devin Booker, to me, in his career, I feel like right now he is that piece, like a Donovan Mitchell, to get traded to a team that already has the growth of the 3-4 year guys that have been playing together, like the Cavs. You know what I mean? Like Darius Garland,
or like sending him to Houston, right?
Yeah, because the way the Suns could do, they can get guys like that, but there's no one available that you would bring over here. I feel like to be the number 1 guy and be a number 2A, 2B with Booker, and then have a good surrounding cast. You know what I mean? Like there's already teams that are ready for a guy like Booker, where it makes more sense for him to go somewhere and win with that team the next 3 or 4 years. Then if you're going to rebuild around him here, because I don't think that's going to work. And obviously KD's not the right guy next to Booker, or maybe he is if we get someone else. I don't know. But I'm just saying, like, I think that's how I think other teams are looking at the Suns right now. Is like, if we can get Booker off the Suns, then we have a complete team. It's not like, if we trade these guys to the Suns and they're going to be a contender. I think it's just totally going the opposite direction.
Agreed. You put Booker over in OKC around all those defensive players, and he has an opportunity to shine offensively. Same thing in Memphis, same thing in Houston, because those are 3 teams that have a defensive identity, and they just need a little bit more salt and pepper on their offensive game. Booker can provide that. But guess what? None of that benefits Phoenix. None of it.
I know. Yeah.
And that's why I'm adamantly against it.
I know. What's nice, though, is that Booker does not want out. Because if he did, then obviously he would be going somewhere this summer.
Oh, yeah.
But because for him, if he wants to win, he would just be like, this summer I have to go somewhere else. There's 10 other teams I'd rather play for than the Suns team.
Yeah.
But
And
obviously he knows something that we don't. Of course he does.
what do you think that is?
Kevin Durant's getting a BBL this offseason.
What's a BBL?
Big Brazilian butt lift.
Oh, okay. Oh, hey, that might do it. That might
He
do it.
needs one.
Yeah, I mean, it's and again, these are conversations that we'll continue to have throughout this upcoming offseason, which is what do we have? 14 games left now?
I hope
Please tell me
so.
it's only
I
14.
hope it's that low.
Or 10, like
It looks like 16, right? Oh no, we're 31 and 37 now, right?
yeah, so it's
14.
14.
Yeah.
14 more games, you know what I mean? So that's kind of where we're at. And the Devin Booker thing, you know, I can see, especially like I said, on a night like tonight where Devin Booker just played horribly and we don't feel he has the ability to be the alpha. You know, there's other nights where he proves otherwise, and we were reminded of how good he's playing. Do you think the Suns only scored 96 because that's the number, you know, Booker since 96?
Since 96, yeah. That's why he's like, I don't give a fuck anymore. I want 96 points. I miss the days where they were scoring. Remember, now that we're playing like defense, like we're throwing guys out there that are playing defense and, you know, rebounding and stuff like that. Now we can't fucking score. You know what I mean?
No
like,
shit.
games like this.
Well,
So,
that's what I said. And Javier backed up his statement. He said, I understand your point of view, John. Your reasons are valid. I only ask, is it possible that there could be 3 or 4 good players versus one decent player out there? Maybe I don't know. It's worth a try. In my opinion, Devin Booker, on his best day, you would get a couple decent players and a bunch of picks. But I don't think that it's anything that, you know, again, look at other teams around the NBA. Look at Toronto, who we're going to play tomorrow. Toronto's a team that had a ton of draft assets. They had a ton of players, and like they've built around RJ Barrett. You know, like that's the kind of player you'd get is an RJ Barrett, somebody who has a ton of holes in their game. Booker has holes in his game, but he has the ability to have elite offensive nights, and he has especially right now in his prime. His ceiling, I keep using that word, but his ceiling is much higher than RJ Barrett on a consistent basis. So it's like, yeah, we could get draft picks and like mid-level players. And yeah, maybe we got 3 or 4 mid-level players. But I'd rather get 3 or 4 mid-level players to put around Devin Booker than give up Devin Booker for that.
You know, the location too. So with Booker gone, obviously I don't know who would want to come here to play. But also it's like
if it's a trade, it doesn't matter.
Yeah, I guess so. So like
not everyone's Kevin Durant. And gets to choose where they go.
Yeah, I know. I want to end this on my own terms. Thanks, man. Because I'm all drowning. Thanks a lot, Kevin. I love you. Legacy. Legacy. I'll sacrifice myself and everybody else. The millions. I don't know. I was just saying, you know, location, you know, Charlotte and Utah and these other teams that, you know, it just seems like it's not a sexy place to play anymore. So the only reason I would want to keep Book is I kind of want to stay on the map with other players that want to come here.
Phoenix is still a sexy place to play. It always has.
Was it before though, Booker? Because before,
yes, absolutely.
Really?
Barkley.
It is more now. I know the Barkley thing, but
you know, we had no problem attracting free agents all through the 90s, the 2000s. You know, the 2010s, it got a little bleak, but even then, like we got Tyson Chandler after he won a championship. That's nice. And the reason we got Tyson Chandler is because we wanted to get LaMarcus Aldridge here, but unfortunately he's a Texas guy, so he ended up in San Antonio. We all know how that went. But yeah, Phoenix 100% is, especially because the NBA season happens during the best time of year to live here. You know, like Bradley Beal doesn't want to leave right now because it's the middle of the season, and we'll see what happens. But spend another summer here, Bradley. Don't go on vacation. Like that's my dare to Bradley Beal. Bradley, don't go on vacation.
All that fucking money.
Stay in Phoenix for one summer. He'll be dying to go to fucking Minnesota the first chance he can. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Shout out to Julian watching on Twitter, says, feel like therapy to hear you guys. Thanks for this. You're welcome. This is why we do it. Just vet this shit and then go cook a steak. I think I'm going to do a steak tonight, Matthew. And then, do you know what I'm doing tomorrow? You know how tomorrow's St. Patty's Day and normally you do corned beef and cabbage?
Uh-huh.
I'm going to be doing this thing where I take a corned beef and then I cook it a certain way and then I turn it into a sandwich, a corned beef sandwich, and it has horseradish mustard on it, and sauerkraut.
Oh wow, that's nice, dude. Thanks for reminding me. It's Irish Day tomorrow.
Yeah, you'll be at the Suns game. You got credentials. Your thumbs up.
Yay!
Yes, you go watch
Can't wait, dude.
Toronto. Let's
Sounds good,
see.
though.
Let's see. Who should we? Who,
Yeah,
who
that's
should? Who do you want to talk about next? Is there anyone we want to talk
No
about?
one.
Here, let's talk about this guy.
I want to introduce you to someone very special here tonight. So let's all give a big round of applause to little Jimmy.
I just wanted to play that drop because I put a lot of effort into that drop, and then we
I
didn't even
liked
trade
it.
for Jimmy Butler.
I know.
and
I
that
was
makes
looking
me
at
mad.
the other night. I was looking at the other night. I'm like, that sucks because we totally thought we were just gonna get him. You already made a drop. That's never happened in the history of
Yeah.
Suns Jam session. What do they have? They won like what 11 out of the last 12 or something like that.
Yeah, they've won like 7 in a row, and they're just
God, remember the Warriors were just like done, like
Yeah.
nothing, like
Yeah.
nothing.
it's Bradley Beal, man. I'm telling you. You know what? Let's talk about Bradley Beal because he got injured in this game again.
Oh,
And she said, you're not the only one, but you're the best, Bradley. Bo, bo.
You are not the best, Bradley. Ended with 15 minutes played, 2 of 6 from the field, and 0 of 2 from beyond the arc. 4 points, 2 rebounds, 1 turnover, a negative 12 in the plus minus, and his calf hurts again. And people used to call him Real Deal Bradley Beal, and I call him Feel Ill Bradley Beal because he's always sick and he's always
Yeah.
he's just 4th and long. Beal doesn't even deserve a drop. He doesn't.
yeah, it's a tough one to play, and you know he's
Little
he's one, of
Beal.
those, he's one of those guys right now. If he's out, it doesn't make or break the team right now. I don't.
No,
think,
in
but-
fact, like Colin Gillespie got the start in the second half. Now, granted,
Yeah.
not a great game for Colin. He went 1 of 7 from the field and 1 of 6 from beyond the arc. He had 5 fouls. I mean, he was just out there, hacking.
yeah, it's a little
Um,
rough, huh? I
yeah,
mean,
a
he
little
kind
bit.
of lost that mojo.
Yeah, but you know what?
Yeah.
In that third quarter, where again there was no Beal and Colin Gillespie played almost 7 minutes in it, the Suns outscored the Lakers 34-29. Now, granted, that's because 15 of Kevin Durant's 21 points came in that quarter, but when Beal goes out, it's not like you're like, oh shit, we're never gonna win. And that's sad. And that's sad.
It is sad, man.
You
Oh,
know?
sorry.
Oh, well, in that case, let's just go to the subreddit.
The Suns Jam Session subreddit stakeout.
All right, I hate the fucking Lakers. Obviously, I can't stand their fans. And here's what they had to say on the subreddit for the Los Angeles Lakers today. Suns fans think Bud is trying to get fired on purpose, similar to Monty Williams when he coached Detroit. Yes, we are. Correct. Where'd it go? Let's see. Booker's never been the same since Luka adopted him.
Now it's
Dunn.
Jeez.
Dunn is a bum. Fuck this dude.
Jeez.
I don't know exactly what this means, but I like the way it sounds. The Suns are turbo dog shit. What is turbo
Turbo
dog shit?
I feel like it's green
It
or
just-
red. Is it red?
I just know it comes out fast.
Yeah.
I've never seen a team with this amount of talent be this dog shit. Warms my heart how dog shit the Suns are. That is what they were calling the Suns over on the Lakers subreddit, is dog shit left and right. Like,
Oh man.
I like how it's like they're not shit, it's dog shit, and that's meant to be more
Dog shit's
derogatory.
Yeah. It's even
You know?
worse.
Like, what's worse than dog shit?
Not cat shit, because I feel like I'm a cat guy now. So,
Cat shit's a good
Dog
one though to
sucks.
throw at people because people say dog shit a lot. You're like, dude, this team is cat shit. You're like,
This-
whoa.
I've never
It's-
been cat shit.
I know. It's like it's crapped out and then nicely put away by the cat. in the
Yeah,
litter
maybe
box.
because we just don't see. Yeah, we don't see cat shit. Dog shit's just everywhere in the world.
Yeah. Every time you go to a park, you don't run across cat shit. Like the park right next to my house always has dog shit everywhere, which is a code for the Phoenix Suns. So the Phoenix Suns are all over my park. Dog shit. Here's another comment from the Lakers subreddit. KD doesn't get nearly enough slander for being a coach killer. He got Atkinson fired, who now has the Cavs as the 1 seed. Nash, who he advocated for to replace Atkinson, Vogel, and Bud probably next too.
They do say coach killer, but his whole career it was the same coaches. What do you have, like 2 coaches before then?
Yeah, I guess it was Steve Kerr and
Steve Kerr, and then what's his name? The little dude, little Walmart
Billy
manager?
Donovan.
Yeah, Billy Donovan.
Billy
No,
Donovan,
it
okay.
was I don't know, Scott
Was it?
Foster.
Oh no, I know who you're talking. Scott.
I think it was Scott, and then Billy Donovan.
What's his name? I know exactly what you're talking about. Somebody
Scott
in the
Brooks.
chat. Scott Brooks. That's right.
Benjamin Timmons.
That's right. Thank you. Benjamin Timmons in the chat, coming in strong from downtown. He's on fire. He hit a shot. More shots than the Suns made. Find you a woman who loves you as much as Luka hates the Suns. It's always a quality comment. Beal being out is good for the Suns. See, even the opposing team knows that. This Phoenix team is BAD bad. Suns are an all-time bad vibes team. These dudes hate each other. And then the final comment, which doesn't really have anything to do with basketball, but I just thought it was kind of interesting. The next sun, other than our own sun, is 5.88 trillion miles away. That was on the Lakers subreddit.
The Suns Jam Session Subreddit Stakeout.
Was that
All right.
code?
No, it's fact. There's another sun 5.88 trillion miles away. That's the next closest sun.
Got it.
See, they Neil deGrasse Tyson'd us.
Oh, jeez, that guy.
Is there anything else you had in your?
I didn't have any notes.
Notes. Good for
No
you.
notes tonight.
Good, and I'm glad I don't have to write the recap on this one either. So let's just go on to the Jam Star and then get the fuck out of here.
Jam star of the game.
All right. Who do you got, Matthew?
Nobody. I'll give it to Mariah Carey.
Right.
Shout out.
What about Cody Martin? He finally got some minutes. First time.
No, I'm not gonna give it to anybody.
Me neither. He didn't look good either. Yeah. Jam Star. LeBron James for looking like he got in one little fight and his mom got scared. So.
Yeah, he did. Is the LV for Louis Vuitton?
That or Las Vegas because he's going to own the franchise. That's what I thought.
Maybe, yeah.
I was like, oh, he's just showing. He's just flexing that he wants the Las Vegas franchise.
Dallas. I got Luka, and then I got your franchise.
He's like,
You do everything for him.
Oh, LeBron. All right. Well, up next for the Suns tomorrow night, Toronto, which is a team. This is obviously the second time we faced them. We already lost to them once. A game that we probably shouldn't have, but we did because we're the Suns. Toronto is also the 11th seed, so it's going to be a battle of 11th seeds tomorrow in downtown Phoenix. So this is a team that enters with the 22nd most points per game. They give up the 21st most points per game. They're ranked 26th in offensive rating, 20th in defensive rating, and 24th in net rating. Matthew, do the Suns win this game?
I think the Suns win this game. I can't stand the Toronto Raptors games. I can't stand the way that their jerseys look. I can't stand that they're from Canada. I'm just joking. I can't stand out of all the teams, a lot of the bad ones, like they're the worst ones just to watch. I just don't know what they are. I have no idea. Scotty Barnes, obviously, I was a big fan, and he's fell off. I don't know if he just needs a new scenery, some new scenery, but he's not the guy I thought he would be. So just a frustrating watch, man. I can stay away from this one and be okay, but I'll be at the game. And the
thing I will say about this one, they're currently playing the Portland Trailblazers right now, and they're up by like 5 points. But prior to this game, they're 7-1 in their last 8 games. So nice. Toronto, since the All-Star break, has been playing well, and that bodes well for us. The thing that you got to know about Toronto, again, a team that just possesses youth, and that's all it takes to be the Suns. That's it, just youth. Like you have a couple young guys, like you automatically win because the Suns are like, oh shit, they've got energy.
Oh shit,
you know? Second night of a back-to-back for Phoenix, of course, traveling home. Second half will probably be interesting for Phoenix because of that. This is definitely one of those games where I recommend Jamsters. If you got a little money, you want to bet.
Down, huh?
Bet on the Suns to win the first half. Bet on Toronto to win the game. I could totally see that happening. This is a game they should win. This is a game they absolutely should win. This is not a good basketball team that they're playing against, but the Suns are not a good basketball team. So you can't sit there and go, oh, they should win that one. Like, there's no more of that the rest of the season. Maybe against Chicago on Wednesday night, but I mean, no.
No. I can see myself walking back from hot dogs at halftime, with a close game, and then I sit back down. The Suns are down by 10.
You know what so here's what I realized a couple games ago is when you go to at halftime, the Suns, they put out for the media down there next to the locker room, they put out a spread where you can go through that, halftime hot dogs, right? You can go down there and get a halftime hot dog, maybe a little peppermint, so your breath doesn't smell horrible. And what they put more stuff out. They've got nachos, and then they've got chicken fingers. Mm-hmm. And those chicken fingers are so good, dude. And like 2 games ago, I went down there. I got a hot dog, and I was like, hell yeah, dude. And I actually got 2 hot dogs. I was like, I'm gonna be fat because I'm fat. I'm like, I'm gonna get 2 hot dogs, and I forgot they had chicken fingers. I start making my way down the line because I like to put the nacho cheese on the hot dogs.
Yeah,
I was like, oh, dude, there's fucking chicken fingers. Yeah. Oh, fuck! Like, I need 2 plates.
They had like the shredded chicken too.
Yep, they got that for the
nachos. Yeah. So good.
But I like to get the chicken fingers, and they got just really good honey mustard, and just dip it in that. And then they got some kettle chips, and then you get a little snack. That's where you go and you get a little cookie afterwards, and you're like, all right, I'm gonna head back up and watch the Suns.
It's a good spread.
It is. HBO. For all the things that the Suns are horrible at, the way they treat the media is absolutely fantastic. I will give the Suns. I will tip my cap to that. Now just put together a winning team and make us happy in that capacity. I want to be completely happy, not just full. Yeah,
it's like, what about some chicken fingers?
Like, hey, we're gonna
look at the court.
It's like How to Serve Man. That whole. You ever seen that Twilight Zone? How to Serve Man. So the whole Twilight Zone is aliens come down, and they have a book, and they work very hard to translate it. And they figure out the title. It's How to Serve Man. So everybody's super welcoming of the aliens, and the aliens are taking them on the ships and feeding them and treating them right. And then somebody's like, oh no, it's a cookbook, like How to Serve Man.
Yeah.
And that's what
I do remember that one. Big giant dude.
Yes, big giant dude. Yeah, I love those old Twilight Zones, man.
Yeah, they're so good.
Good stuff. All right. Well, I think I'm going to thank you for this. Thank you for letting me vet this shit. We'll continue with our days. We'll be right back here tomorrow night. I assume you'll be coming in live from the arena, perhaps, but maybe I'll ask Suns Geek if he wants to pop on. And
I'll probably be on.
All right, cool. You should drive home and then just cuss out people like, I use your what the fuck.
I'm too nice of a driver. I guess I drive like a grandma. So
bikers are stupid. Get off the road.
All right, everybody. We done?
All right. Yeah, we're done.
I guess. All right. Everyone go home, love your family.
How to Serve.
Hey, you're listening to the Suns Jam Session podcast, shooting the shit about the Suns since 2019.